I always do exactly what I say. I like to think that my word is as good as a contract. I would say surround yourself with better people. Constantly look to find yourself with people who are successful. And ultimately, it's only to sell more cars. I'd rather do that than watch Netflix all night.
Did your busy lifestyle, did it have a negative effect on your relationship?
Oh, there's lots of different angles with that.
Hello and welcome to episode 22 of DealerPod, the podcast where we talk to motor trade industry experts nationwide to find out about their businesses and gain any insights that they may have to help you with your car sales operation. My name is Stephen Douglas and I'm joined today as always by Scott Sibley and Martin Carr. Today's podcast is sponsored by Dealerway, the UK's fastest growing platform for motor dealers to trade cars safely and transparently. Today's guest is the owner of Solo Cars based in Liverpool. I'd like to welcome the podcast, Mr. Jay McConville. Hi Jay, how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Very good. Thank you for having me. I'm in some good company here by the looks of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that one.
He's pointing this way.
He's pointing that way. All right, okay. So Jay, I think you're the first guest that we've ever had who's sat in the back of a car.
Oh, like surely in a car's the way to do this. It's
Yeah,
like,
definitely. Yeah, good idea.
What
Has
kind of
anyone,
car is it?
has anyone guessed the car yet? No.
No, I was just thinking
I
that.
think it's a Vauxhall.
I would say a Vauxhall Astra.
No.
No.
Excuse me, I'm really offended that you think I stock Vauxhalls.
Vauxhall Astra.
All them Vauxhall drivers out there now going, I'm not going to J.
Is it a Skoda or an Audi?
No, it's a Ford Focus.
Oh, we could have went on all day. You're joking me. He's having a go because we thought he had Vauxhalls and he's doing a Focus.
Instead,
Is it a 1 litre?
it is, yes. It's come in part exchange. Otherwise, again, I wouldn't have bought the 1 litre.
Yeah, all right.
All right. Got you. So, Jay, I've actually been following you for a while on social media. I really like how unique of a style that you've got and the way that you advertise and put yourself out there. I think you've maybe realised from the off of sort of social media that you've put yourself front and centre and been like the real face of the business.
Yeah.
And I think that's worked for you, and your use of like, I'm not going to, well, I will. I'll call them Z-list celebrities who you've got. You've had a few in the showroom and promoting the brand. And I think they're all local to like your area, Liverpool, aren't they?
Yeah.
It looks good. It impresses me every time I like see the vids, and I think I'm assuming it's worked really well for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Again, it's more just targeting that local area. Hence why, I was working with a lot of these, call them Z-list celebrities, like you were saying. Getting them to come in at certain times and days, though, was like really difficult. And that was a job in itself, just navigating them. And I thought, you know what? I need someone who's passionate about what we do, knows the ins and outs of it, and prepared to put themselves on camera. And I was like, well, that's just me. There we go. I can film whenever I want. No problem at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're very comfortable with it now as well, aren't you?
I am now, yeah. It definitely wasn't at first. And it's certainly like not a different version of me that you get online, but like no different than, I suppose, what we're all like in our business mode. It's not necessarily the real me. But, awareness, it's very good for our awareness, pushes the brand well locally, certainly does its job, and we're very well known in the city now, so it's good.
James, can you just tell the DealerPod audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, your background, where you came from, how you got into the motor industry, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, no problem. So about 17 years ago now, we started this company. It was me and my dad. My dad had all the car sales experience at some relatively small places, he didn't have a lot of cars around him at any given moment. I turned 20. I was really ambitious, I knew nothing about cars, but knew I wanted to be in business. And we kind of put that together, his car knowledge and my ambition. And we created Solo Car Sales. So started out small, grown organically. We now generally have like 80 to 100 cars in stock, sell 60 to 80 a month. And there's a team of 12 of us, as opposed to, again, there was just 2 of us when we started it.
And is your dad still involved in the business?
Yeah, he's still involved. He's not necessarily on site every day or anything. He more watches remotely. He does like to come every now and then, but it's nice. He's got a bit more flexibility back into his life, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. Getting back to your videos there, I wanted to bring it up. I was trying to find one to show Martin earlier.
You know,
You done a video years ago, and I think you must have put it on Facebook at the time. It was a guy who I half recognised again, like a local celebrity. He was like, I think he's a comedian or something, and it was around bad credit.
Yeah.
And it really hit home with me for obviously my business model that we do. Obviously, we sort of specialise in that area. And it honestly, it made us like really like laugh me arse off. The guy was, if I remember rightly, he was in the showroom with his missus, and he was trying to like impress her by saying, "Oh yeah, mate, Range Rover, Range Rover," and you got him in, and he was saying, "Yeah, I'll buy it cash," and then he says, "Oh, what about the finance?" And then
Yeah.
he decked on the finance. Where is that video? Because I need to find it after the podcast. I'm going to put it inside the pod because it's absolutely brilliant for anyone that hasn't seen it.
Because it was early days in what we've done. I think the radio was playing in the background, and
Right.
Instagram muted it.
Oh no,
Probably removed it.
Really?
Yeah, it muted.
no way.
Which, again, little things you learn along the way. That the video was good. The video done well for us, but
Yeah.
I suppose there's a lot more things to consider that I didn't know back in the day. For a lot of the modern videos now, we've kind of moved away from the angle of we predominantly sell our cars on finance. We have really good penetration rates, but we have moved away from talking about that online. Just at the request of the finance companies, I don't think they like us overly talking about that. So we can't just stick to like, having cheap cars, so to speak, but without talking about cheap monthly payments and stuff. So we kind of moved the narrative away a little bit at their request.
Mm-hmm. And you make a big deal, don't you, in your advertising efforts about being the cheapest in Liverpool, don't you? Having the cheapest cars.
Yeah.
Is that true as well? Do you actively just make your cars cheaper than anyone else? Is that the sort of line that you stick to?
Yeah, I think being depending on, there'll probably be a lot of different dealers listening to this. I'd say we're a smaller dealer. Some people would say we're a bigger dealer. Everyone's got their own interpretation of what that means. We can stay hands-on. So like if I'm lingering around site a couple of days a week and I'm thinking, do you know what, it's a little bit quiet? Well, it's no problem. Just jump on, lower all the prices, get rid of a ton of stock, move it on, keep the place moving, keep everyone busy. That fills, certainly feeds that narrative that we're the cheapest, and we just make them cheap. The cars themselves, we constantly play around with like the average retail price. So, at one point it was, pre-COVID, our average retail price was something like $6,000 a car. And then during the COVID years, it jumped up to as high as 23,000 a car. And then now it's somewhere around 18,000 a car. So like some people will look and think, oh God, their cars are a lot more expensive than they used to be, but not quite what they mean. They mean they're just at a different price point. But the value's definitely there. I'm adamant that the value's definitely there.
Mm-hmm. And does that mean you end up working for slimmer margins then, or?
Yeah.
So you've just got to keep the volume turning.
Pushing the F&I.
The F&I is a big thing, but again, the more you tinker with that retail price, the more you invite your cash customer, and it's not a case, I don't think, of having all the cheapest cars in the world, because you will just invite all your cash customers. And I mean, Scott, I'm sure you're more than familiar than looking at finance penetrations and whatnot, but our finance penetrations I couldn't tell you a month they were last lower than 75%.
Wow. That's good.
So
very good.
Really, that's just because that's the narrative we've always pushed to our customers.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the business we've created. So when you get them cash customers in, it's like, oh, we're losing that F and I there, because if you lose the F, it's harder to get the I as well. Certainly, just different conversations that have to happen.
Jay, with you, how many sales staff do you have, or do you have?
3 sales execs. Well, we've actually only got 2 at the moment because one's just left. But 2.
Right. Okay. And are they on, like, because we changed our lads, and they're on abandoned systems, a bit like the main dealers do. So when they reach a certain band, they go up and all. Are you similar to that, or do you just give them like a flat rate for what they sell? Or
the banding system certainly is the best way to do it. But
do you do the same?
No, I didn't like the idea of how much that needed to be calculated. I just was a bit of legwork that didn't make me feel comfortable. So I did change the pay plan at the start of the year, whereas we never used to pay for finance cases, never used to pay for part exchanges, and we changed it so that basically they're rewarded exactly where we're rewarded. So You know, they would not discourage a cash customer, but prefer a finance deal. They would prefer a customer with a part exchange, and kind of just gets them thinking how we think.
Yeah.
So what sort of cars are you stocking at the moment then, Jay?
Whatever's the best value. Whenever we feel like we can shift fast enough. Many years ago, we would be BMW, Mercedes, and Audi heavy. Now we've kind of just opened that up, you know, value with applying our own experience. There's not really a right answer of what we sell. It's just anything from 10 grand to 25 grand where we feel there's value there. It looks modern and we feel like we can sell it fast enough.
I was going to say, you know, with obviously your advertising, how it's mainly localized.
Yeah.
And do you do Facebook adverts with that? Obviously, Facebook advertising, or what would you say is your main portal for advertising? Do you use AutoTrader? Do you use Motors and the other platforms?
So in terms of traditional car dealer avenues, we only use AutoTrader.
Right.
All them other places like Car Gurus and whatever else, we've been on them all over the years. I'm quite big on data, so I'll study the data, and I've whether it's our customer, whether it's where we're based or whatnot, those platforms for me don't get a good enough return on investment. AutoTrader, I still getting plenty of deals from AutoTrader. I'm not one of them car dealers that'll sit there and say a load of bad words about AutoTrader, because I feel like they serve, well, again, return on investment. They do well for us. Social media stuff just kind of just lets us touch base with our customers all the time. We've always had a good retention rate with our customers, and we've always seen a lot of repeat business. But it just keeps us front of mind for even more people. And if anything, the biggest problem we've got with that is that we're not a big enough dealer. You know, if we had 200 cars, I'm pretty sure we could maximize or capitalize on that even more. But you know, it serves us well. It seems to be going well. Can't complain.
Where would you say your customers are coming from, or what percentage would you say were in like a 30-mile radius, for argument's sake, of where you are? Is it more localized business you're getting, or
I'd say
is people coming in because your cars are cheap?
I would say 50% within
50-50.
Within 10 miles. 50% of them.
Wow. Right. Okay.
You know, we're in a big city, aren't we? Liverpool's a really big city.
Yeah.
And we're now well known, especially the last 2 or 3 years. We're really well known in this city. There's not many people that don't know who we are, which, just for context, you know, we're on the back end of an industrial estate. We don't have no retail prominent showroom. We're investing in it now to make it have nice facilities and whatnot, but you're not driving past our place, or certainly we're not selling cars to the people that are driving past our place.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that online awareness is big for us.
You touched on it earlier about the reason why you're sat in the back of the car is because you are sort of like refurbing the place.
Yeah.
What is it? Your place? Do you own it? Do you rent it?
It's only rented, but I wanted better facilities for the customers, better facilities for the staff, better facilities for me. We've never really had a chance to stop and refurbish the place properly. And to be honest, we've still not really, there's no right time to do that. And we just decided you know, now is the time. We're carrying a chunk less stock than normal. I've got no office. We're sharing a container between 4 or 5 of us. You know, nice container. It's got desks and kitted out nice, but still, you're on top of each other. It's let us work closer than normal. So I'm hearing a few of the handovers, and I wouldn't normally hear that. That's quite good, though. It's nice to be back on the sharp end of things. And you know, I've got a sales manager. He's kind of doing the same as well. Again, we wouldn't, you know, no one is going to stand in the office with the sales execs normally. They just kind of just bank on them doing their thing. But it's nice to hear that, you know, the pitch that they're giving to them, and the speech even on handover, exactly what's being said, and it's how consistent the same thing is being said. There's a lot of positives to that reduced space, but that's why I'm sat in the back of a car and not in a nice office yet.
So what is the plans for the refurbishment?
So we were working with 3, I'm going to call it 3.5 offices, because one of them you accessed via the other one. That was our setup. We originally only had one office, added a bit on here, added a bit on there, added a bit on there over the years. And I was like, no, we need to invest heavy And, I think there's going to be like 7 offices, proper waiting areas, staff rooms, everything. More modern, quite an unusual look. We're going to have the showrooms painted black. Our branding is green. We'll add little bits of green in there. Going to make it very different, but we don't kind of want to be the same as anyone else. We want to do our own thing. And I got that little vision in my head of how I think it'll look, and I'm looking forward to seeing that materialize over the next few weeks.
Oh, that's good, yeah, good. It's always a thing as well when you're renting, spending money on someone else's place. It's a little bit of a counterproductive in a way, isn't it? But if because we rent our premises and there's loads of stuff I'd like to do. Yeah, but we spent a fortune on my last place, and then we had a big delapse at the end, and it was just like, it was a kick in the nuts when you had to leave. It's fine line to walk, isn't it, between having it how you want it, but not like pumping a load of money in and just peeing it up the wall, so to say.
Yeah, I think when we're firing on all cylinders, this business ends well. And, we know we're going to be here for the next however many years we've signed our lease for. We made sure we signed the new lease first. That was important. We're going to be here for at least the next 7 years. And I just decided whatever we want to spend there, divided by those 7 years, it's worth the investment. And kind of, I don't know if that's the right way to think about it, but it's certainly the right way that let my mind say okay to the work.
No, well, you've got to think. I mean, I don't know how much it's cost you, but if it cost you X, and if you spread that cost over 7 years, and it was a monthly figure, you think, well, would I pay that extra monthly figure to if it was already like that, and I could rent it for that length of time? And it makes sense, doesn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, and part of that,
the answer is yes.
Me turning up in better facilities has a bit of value there, but also it's for the staff as well. We want to retain our staff, and we want to have the best facilities, and not every staff member is here just for a pound note. Everyone's here for different reasons. I think the facilities were certainly letting us down, and it's nice to now be correcting that and to be able to offer some more to the staff. It's good.
We did a big refurb last year, and I think stand on the forecourt. I mean, we did the whole thing, like top to bottom, the walls. We've just put aircon in, solar panels on the roof. We've done all sorts. But one of the big differences was we've got the forecourt resurfaced with fresh tarmac. Yeah. And the old tarmac had like cracks in it, and like you're always pulling the weeds out and bits of moss. And you'd have a nice 20 grand car stood there on this like shitty bit of tarmac, which was just old. And it just did nothing for the car. And then when we got it all resurfaced, you put the same car back where it was. It seemed to like transform the car. It was like the presentation of the car just came across much better. And then we changed all the signage and everything. So it was when customers were arriving, they felt like the place was immaculate, and it just gives that vibe off that it's like a well-run business, like a good, like well operated, because it was so clean and tidy. Whereas before, I inherited a lot of where it was a little bit run down in areas what needed tidied up, which we've had to do over the years. We couldn't just do it straight away. When we first moved in, it was rented until we bought it, but we spent, I think it was 40 or 50 grand on the site when we first moved in, because it was in a bad state of repairs. But again, some people might say, "Oh, you're mad to spend all that money on there. You don't own it," but you've just got to set it up, I suppose, the way you know how.
Oh, so you done that before you owned it?
Yeah, I went in there because I met Murray, who's great, and McDonald's were drilling holes on the forecourt, and he'd done a deal with McDonald's, and they were going to buy the site. And I'd said to him, "Look, I wanted to rent it with an option to buy in the lease," and we agreed on the option. It was a bit tricky at the first because I think he agreed with it, and then he changed his mind slightly, and his business partner died, so timing wise was quite good. So we had a lease, which was
his business partner died, so that was good.
Well, no, it wasn't good. It was good for me. It was good timing for him and for me, I suppose. It was probably sad for him, but But long story short, we had a lease for a year, but it was out the Landlord and Tenant Act, which meant at year 5 we couldn't automatically renew. So Murray could have said to me, "Right, you need to pack up and you're away," or he could have said, "You're doing really well. Instead of paying us 50 grand a year rent, I'll have 100 off you." And because it was out this act, which is part of the lease, I had no security there. So we managed to put the option to buy in. So when I signed the lease for the solicitor, he says you need to buy that as fast as you can, because when you're coming to the end of 5 years, if you haven't bought it, you've got no rights in there. So I think we're in there about a year and a half, and that's when we exercised the option to purchase. through the solicitors, and that took about a year and a half to go through with the banks and the searches and so on. So that's how we ended up buying it.
It's good.
And Murray had a 10-year, I think it's called a covenant, 10-year covenant in it. So we paid 600 grand for the property. Say it was worth £1 million 10 years later or whatever, and there was 400 grand worth of profit. Murray would have got half of that. That's how he put it in. He's very switched on. So when I reached, I think we reached 10 years, I rang him and I says, your covenant's no longer, it's not happening anymore. So what I laugh about it, but he's a really nice guy. He's all right. I get on really well with him.
Nice.
Good stuff. So, Jay, going back to, you mentioned you had 12 staff. Have the crux of them been there with you from the start? Have you added them? How long has your staff sort of been together for?
No, there's a fair amount that are fresh, but I'd say just less than half of them are now probably just been with us for quite a few years, know how we operate. They're generally my better staff members because they know how the business works. They're really personally invested in the success of it, which is nice to see because they do value it like it's their own. But yeah, there's still fresh staff members.
Do you have mechanics there, Jay?
Yes.
So will you prep your cars in advance? Because I know you're quite aggressive with your price and what you're saying before. So you want to be right on the price. I take it you're prepping everything in advance, so you know exactly how much each unit stands.
Yeah, attempting to prep everything in advance. But
yeah, same as us. Yeah, it's a battle, isn't it?
That's really the way, because again, it just keeps things fluid. When they're selling, they can just drive away.
Yeah.
That's just good for so many different reasons in terms of like buyer's remorse, waiting lists, organisation, everything. If a car's here for a week before it gets collected.
They always find more stuff as well to do, don't they?
Yeah, it's just in the way and everything. So just the more of them that are ready to drive away, the better. And again, if anything, I could really do with probably an extra mechanic and an extra valeter, so that when I turn it on and decide to buy a bit of stock, we can just prep it and we're not waiting. Or, when people are on holiday, it's not like, oh, such and such is off this week, so we're a bit slower. It's like, can't really afford to have that reduced capacity. We need to just be able to fire on all cylinders at all times.
So is everything handled in the one location? Because you've got a unit there. Is all cars physically with you?
We've got a storage yard just a couple of roads up. That probably holds another 40 cars as and when we need it. We're using that at the moment to store everything that's fully ready. So there's actually not many cars on site that are fully ready, because between stuff that needs prep and the stuff that's waiting to get collected, there's no space left on site with the refurb work getting done. But it's okay. I don't think that's not a problem. Everyone has to just be more switched on, more awake, more dialed into what's needed each day. And I think the customers quite like knowing that, they turn up and yet we're working out of a container at the moment, but they can see we're heavily investing in the place. We're not going anywhere. We're here for a while.
Yeah.
So what's your day-to-day like then, Jay? What do you do in the business? What's your role, and what do you spend most of your time doing?
So I get up at 11. No, I'm only joking, I don't.
Sounds like Stephen.
Shut up.
That's a lie.
These have got it in their head, right? Because because I'm not in at 9 o'clock in the morning every day, that I'm lying in bed. Like, what they don't I take me kids to school. I've got a life, man, not like used to, crackers.
You sent me a text.
This is the life I've created for myself.
You know that time you sent me a text last week and I got it the next, I get up at 4:30 in the morning. So he was like, I don't suppose you're awake, are you? And it was something like 10 o'clock. And then obviously I missed it. And at 4:30 I replied, and I went, yeah, I'm awake. We're just where opposite ends.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Couldn't get that up.
My day-to-day just involves bidding on cars. That's most of my work. I still add them to the system, to be honest, because I like to know. I like to be sharp with what we're buying. And then when I'm adding them to the system, that kind of, again, I get to have a proper look at what we're buying.
Are you talking on auctions you're bidding on cars?
Yeah, BCA, Motorway, CarWow, the usual platforms. I kind of feel like I should have a bigger list of what I do here, but I haven't. No, I mean, that's the point.
When you say you get analytics on that, when you're talking about the analytics, do you sort of look at the history of what you've been selling and aim for those cars within auctions? Do you pay much attention to that side of it, or?
Yeah, I do enough digging and go down a rabbit hole every now and then, studying data.
Yeah.
But again, the data's not always the not necessarily always the answer. You know, you got to go a little bit off your gut, a little bit off what you like selling as well, and at the same time always taking a gamble in places so that, you know, you don't know what's going to next be the best seller, do you? So there's always an element of gambling on certain cars. But I mean, most cars sell, don't they? You know, some of them are in for longer than others. Most of them sell. The answer is just to buy more cars and figure out how to then sell them. You know, there's enough reasons through COVID, all the different reasons we've got, when I think all the answers are generally always remain the same. Buy more cars and make them sell faster. That's it's quite simple.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit like you, Jim. Most of my days spent looking for stock and bidding for cars and, you know, all the rest of it. And sometimes I just feel as though I'm chained to my desk. And what you mentioned before about being in the container and being in the office, you know, with the sales team and what have you, and it's sort of like open your eyes a little bit more to what goes on day to day. Like, I don't really see that. Sometimes I feel like I'm not involved because I'm so like solely focused sat at this bloody desk trying to buy cars. And there is days when I would love to just hand it off to somebody else and you know, get my hands dirty and get stuck in with it. But it can be quite a lonely place, can't it? You know, like, gone are the days of going to the auctions and standing having a cup of tea with other car dealers. And I used to enjoy that element of it, and that element's sort of gone for me now. And I just, how do you handle just the, from what I'm getting from you, you know, like long days of sitting in front of a computer, bidding for cars, being on your own for long periods of time? Does that get you at all? Because sometimes it does with me, I know that.
So I would say our prep manager, our sales manager, even the sales team, I'm close with them. I get on with them really well. And don't get me wrong, they have their own levels of banter that I'm not familiar with. I don't get involved in the day-to-day banter and all that kind of stuff. But it's certainly there, and it's a nice, I'll be honest, it's actually a really nice place to be from that point of view. And they have a good dynamic between them all. And when I'm with that, it actually feels quite nice. On the flip side of that, though, and I haven't got any data for this, but I know I definitely buy more cars if I don't bid whilst I'm on site. And I think that's just because, I think it's because I see it as a task, and I'm just like, got to get these bids in and get the task out the way and move on to something else that's in front of me. Whereas, you know, wherever I'm sat at home or in a coffee shop or wherever I am, maybe I just feel a bit more inspired or motivated, and I end up buying more, I end up bidding on more, I end up owning more.
Would that be through BCA if you're like on the app and you're doing the swipey thing?
To be honest, most of my bids I do. I just use the proxy bid. I don't bid live. I kind of
proxies are bad.
I'm not into proxy bidding, like, nah.
Yeah, proxies are bad. You know, certain auctions don't do this, but hypothetically, if they did, you could have a car reserve for 10 grand.
Yeah.
Right. I'm in a 10-1. Right, and then there's somebody in the hall at 10-2. He goes out, but my proxy bid's 11. Potentially, they could press a button and take me right the way up till 11 grand, and then when it stops flashing for me, they retract the last bid and brings it in at 10-9.
Yeah, I fully believe that is happening, if I'm being honest. And
it doesn't happen in the UK though. It doesn't happen in the UK.
Okay, maybe not. But again, just back to being data driven, I'm kind of just like, that is the money I want to pay for that car.
True. Yeah,
we either own it or we don't own it. And we do own enough of them, a couple of £100 behind, whether that's...
Yeah, you're right, yeah. Because if you leave a proxy bid and you buy the car, well, then you're happy because you've got the car for how much you paid for it.
Yeah.
But if you left the proxy bid for 11 grand and the reserve was 10 and there was nobody else bidding and they could have put that down to you, you could have got it £1,000 cheaper. That's the little bit of grey area which isn't.
But how are you looking to price those cars? Like, are you looking at each individual example, or are you just like, because again, back pre-COVID where we'd stand at BCA and whatnot, I wouldn't look at retail price. I'd just have a really sharp idea of what cars are meant to be making, and I kind of know when they're cheap and when they're not. You know, you'd always kind of know, wouldn't you, what I don't know, let's say like a 21 plate Fiesta, you would just know that they'd normally do cap clean, or they'd normally do this, and therefore you'd know when one was a bit cheaper than the next one. But now I'm like, I want to see the data on every. I don't buy a car unless we've studied that AutoTrader retail data on any car.
Yeah.
And I think bidding live, I don't know, the thought of sitting at my laptop for 4 or 5 hours bidding on cars, waiting for them to come in. I couldn't think of anything worse, to be honest.
I just used to find when I put the proxies on, it was always like a very big coincidence that come for how much I paid, which theoretically it should, but they never really came very much cheaper. There would always be some a little bit cheaper, and then sometimes when you're on some auctions and the auctioneer's live and you're online, and then they're tapping away like this, and then they pause the auction, they're tapping away, and then you can hear them saying, yeah, service history for that is blah blah blah, and then they go once, twice sold, and then you think, what happened there? I was going to bid on that, and that's potentially where the last bid could be getting retracted. I'm not saying it is, but it potentially could be
possible. Yeah, and I think even if they're just gauging where the money is on some cars, which again I think they'll happily put a car into a sale and not sell it the first time just to see where the responses are. But then I've got to then rebid on that car in a couple of days, and it's kind of like, can't you just keep your bid on it? You know what I want to give? Just.
I know, yeah.
Why do I have to?
I don't like when a car goes through and they put the hammer down, and they'll knock the hammer down, and you think, oh, well, I missed that one. And then the following week, the same car goes back through, and you think, well, that was supposed to have sold. And you've done all your homework on the car, you've price checked it, you've been on the pictures, you've worked out all the paint work and so on, and it's back through, and you think, I've got to do all that again.
But it always puts me off that, though, when you see a car going back through again. I think, well, why is that back through here again?
You think as it being bought and rejected. Yeah.
It just puts me right off it.
Yeah, you're right.
It depends what you're buying, doesn't it? Like, again, from BCA, I'll only buy VAT qualifying cars. I won't buy anything unless it's VAT qualifying, because I think that...
Really?
I think that assures the source of it and doesn't assure you're getting a good car. But certainly those ones that are not VAT qualifying and the sources they're coming from, we haven't for years. We haven't bought anything that's not VAT qualifying from BCA anyway.
That really limits what's on there then, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's all the same stuff, isn't it? Because it's ex-fleet stuff. There's the same car. But again, and I don't know, this isn't like, I don't think I know best. I can only really tell you what I...
No, of course.
I do. Yeah. I just keep studying the data. We just need... It doesn't really matter whether you're selling, cars, houses, I don't know, sausage rolls. It doesn't matter what you got. You just need the product. You need the product in. You need to figure out what it's selling for and shape the business up around it and understand the dynamics of what's going on. I was aware that we were buying a couple of Teslas at the start of the year, and a friend of mine actually said to me, just be very careful with the Teslas you've got because they're still falling in price. And I'd not overly looked in January because I always like the January market to sort itself out, so to speak. Figure out what's not sold in the quiet months and see what the demand's like for it and where we end up. And I looked at the end of January and I was like, oh wow, these Teslas, these cars need to go. And I'd done me digging on, we'd only sold 12 Teslas previously. That's all we'd sold. And I looked and I was like, have we got 12 in stock when we've only ever sold 12? That kind of doesn't work. But then, adjusting the monies on them, making them move. And in February, we sold 12 Teslas. So,
right.
That's just being sharp on it. And I probably would have missed that if my friend hadn't given me the little steer to say, just double check your Teslas.
So what you're saying is Teslas are good news then?
Money.
I've sold 3 Teslas in the last 3 weeks and blew $7,500.
Oh, amazing.
So
That's great few weeks.
Wow. Done that?
7.5, yeah. They're just sat and just overaged, we'll put chrome deletion on them, we tinted them. One of them was already like souped up, and Andy, one of my sales guys, he's got one, he loves his, he changed his car loads. He's in a $7,000 blow on his at the moment because they're coming down, but I don't know if they're going to go back up or come down, but they just sat. We don't really work on a strict 90 days, but when you've had a car on for 3 months, you're thinking, right, you need to get out of this now, and you just keep chipping away at the price, and you don't want them on low price. We hate cars on low, so we'll have them sat in a grey, but just to try and move them on, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Teslas, if you look on AutoTrader and you're retail checking a Tesla Model 3, and you do click the plate either side button, I'm not sure if you all use, but I'm sure there's probably there's lists to do. And then it's like, there's 700 Teslas. It's like, that is scary. No, that's value. It's not because I think they're a great car. I think the customer thinks they're a great car. I think there's certainly a lot of people out there buying Tesla Model 3s at the moment. But it's the fact that there's so much volume, like ourselves there. If you got them in 90 days, you're just reducing the price of them and we're just forcing that market down. But, at some point, they become even better value for money, don't they? And the customers... we look at every individual car, don't we, and how it's priced up. The customer looks at what they can get for their £300 a month or whatever it might be. And, you know, they don't know that we don't look at it like they look at it. And soon enough, when them cars get into a certain price bracket, everyone's just going to keep wanting them. And I'd argue that that's already at that, to be honest. I think the people who have got a driveway and can have a EV.
It's funny you say that.
I think it works.
It's funny you say that about how the customer's perception is, because when I used to buy cars, I used to PCP check them.
Yeah.
So what I'd do is I'd run them through the PCP check to see what the GFV was.
Yeah.
To see, oh well, I tell you what, this is a 299 month car. You know what I mean? It would push you into that. Go, bloody hell, you can get that for that.
It would say,
I mean, there was a daft deal on Teslas as well, wasn't there? With I think surely it was like £200 a month or something like that for a Model 3.
well, certain
on a used.
unique examples of certain cars, I'll still do that. Where look, you know, we use the AutoTrader retail check to check cars, but that's not what the customer does. The customer goes to autotrader.co.uk, and if they are buying monthly, I don't think many of them select to search by monthly payments, and AutoTrader won't give me that data to tell me who searches by that. But if you do search by monthly payments, it's quite a wise thing to do if you're buying on finance. And just check that way of where, you know, because everyone's got the different APRs, everyone's got the one. If you tell a customer you've got a 21 reg Tesla Model 3 registered in April and a 21 reg registered in August, you know, they kind of guide a little bit different, but they're the same car to the customer. The customer doesn't care. And I think it's important sometimes to search monthly just to see what the customer sees. I don't do that with many cars, but if I did, I'm pretty sure we'd you know, figure a lot more out.
And do you do deliveries or not? I'm guessing you don't.
No, I don't like. I think. I think, you know, if a customer, I don't know. The stats used to be that a customer buys a car every 2.5 years. I don't know if that's still the right kind of data, but
probably, yeah.
I'm pretty sure every 2.5 years, customer can drive 5 miles to go and collect the car. We all do it at IKEA or wherever like that when we need to go there, don't we? Or it's not really that much of an ask, I don't think, if it's something you're buying.
Yeah, makes sense.
And what about the AutoTrader price labels? You know, if you bought a car in and you know, I don't know, the market changes and it slips into a high price or something like that, or fair price, do you pay much attention to them, or how would you feel about them?
Pay attention to that top end, yeah. Like we won't have anything sitting in higher price. In general, I don't think we'll retail a car at more than 98.5%. Sometimes they obviously then over a week or two they can creep up higher, but when I do check that, they get reined back in, because we kind of 96% and 98.5%, most of our stuff leaves the market somewhere around there. Some of it we could be shooting ourselves in the foot. I don't really know. You never.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah.
You know, you'll sell a car really fast when it comes in. You probably think, oh, we sold that too cheap.
Maybe.
I've seen your video, your $2,000 one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, priced it up too cheap. But you know, what's the worst case scenario there? It's a little bit cheaper than it should have been. Customers may be a little bit happier.
Frees up money, go and buy another one.
Yeah, I think, you know, every customer who buys a car's got the ability to go and tell 4, 5, 6 people that that's where they bought the car from.
Yeah.
But you know, suppose if that philosophy was right, we'd have customers lining up to buy cars, but that's not necessarily the case. We don't overly struggle to sell cars, but I think, like I said earlier, if we had 200 cars and we had a bit more of a range of cars, I don't think we'd struggle to sell them. We just don't have the site for that.
A quick message from our sponsors, DealerWay. Attention DealerPod listeners, do you want a better, quicker, more profitable way of trading out of your part exchanges or overage stock? List your cars on DealerWay today and connect with over 2,000 vetted trade buyers actively looking for vehicles. No hidden fees, no hassle. Start your own custom auctions from your desk or the palm of your hand in our game-changing app. Or advertise your stock on quick, easy, buy it now listings to our eager buyers who are waiting to quickly acquire vehicles. What are you waiting for? Join DealerWay today at dealerway.co.uk and streamline your disposals. When you say you don't struggle to sell cars, what do you struggle with? What's like your pain points in the business?
Staff. I would say staff's a pain point. I think getting the staff to think like me is not easy. or not realistic even, to be honest.
I don't think you're ever going to get anyone to do that.
I was going to say, what makes you say that though? Like, what's driving that?
What's driving which the
thinking like you?
So a lot of that, all the solution all comes down to me and the training and the staff and the engagement of the staff. 100% does. They're difficult conversations often though that have to happen, and I struggle with not having enough staff, so I need every staff member, and that makes me less likely to have a difficult conversation with that staff member, which is less likely to improve behaviour. And I kind of only really, I thought that for a long time, and at the start of the year I decided, no, we need to technically like overstaff, so I'm not scared to increase the standard. And you know, again, we're in the process of doing that, you know, with job applications out there and whatnot, and we will get to that. But you know, if we've got one technician this morning that's turned in 9:15, it's not the first time he's done that. It's you know, but what am I going to do? Get rid of him and have no one in that gap? You've got to be clever here. You know, what earns me the most money at the end of the month is having him here. So letting them know it's not okay, but you know, having a backup plan where I now realise we need to get them extra staff members in, so I'm not scared to have them conversations because I'm not going to leave any holes in the business. And it's tricky that because obviously that's a cost, a big cost, but an even bigger cost is not having the right standard, not delivering the right standard to the customers, and that kind of is probably the bit that scares me the most. Is you know, the reputation of the business.
The thing is though, having a member of staff, you know, consistently turning in late and letting that slide sends out the wrong message to the other staff, and they start thinking, well, can I do that? You know, like, oh, he's getting away with it.
Yeah,
it's a hard thing. I agree with you. In my business, the staff it's just so difficult to manage everyone's expectations and everyone's standards and everyone's thought processes, and making sure that he's happy. And if you do something for him that she's not going to be, her nose isn't going to be put out of joint, it's a real difficult thing to get balanced right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the battle with that's the biggest battles I ever with staff, the buying and the selling cars. I think it's quite just buy as much as you can, study the data, follow the patterns, and the rest kind of looks after itself. I don't find it that complicated now, this version of me. I might have in the past not being confident enough to think like that, but now I'm certainly confident enough to think like that.
There was one where someone actually said to me, we were looking for sales execs, and it was just when you need the one position filled, and he actually said to us, he went, get 2 sales execs. He went, the reason behind it is it's going to look like a lot of money that you spend and what have you, but if both of them fly, then you're going to take more in, you're going to take more sales in anyway, so you're naturally just going to grow, you're going to develop. What it also does is if you lose somebody else, you've already got a ready-made solution already there. And then worst case scenario, if one of them doesn't make it, you've still got one that's actually made it. It's very unlikely that you're going to get both of them that don't. Yeah. So you're saying if you're looking for one, actually look for 2 sometimes. That can actually help.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that thinking. I mean, you must have seen that plenty of times, Scott.
Yeah, everything what you've just said, it's hit home with me because prep's the biggest battle, as always. It's been my battle. We've been in the job now 15 years, and I would have said for probably 13 years of it's been the battle. Shortage of techs, like we've discussed previously on the other podcasts, you know, to do with Brexit, to do with, you know, various other things, the economy and so on, where a lot of the techs have left. But we've just appointed 3 more techs. We've got 12, and we've just taken another 3 on, and 2 we probably don't need, but we've taken them on. And I was talking to Ben about it, and I said I couldn't give a shit anymore. I said, even if those techs stand there and it costs us $100,000 a year, I'm not bothered. I want to be in a position where if we've got a backlog of cars, they're there and they can crack on, they can get on with them, and I can go home at night and I just think, I'm not bothered for how much it costs. But what will happen is they will get through the work, and the tech really isn't a cost because all you're doing is you're selling out time. So it's either time attached to your car what you're prepping, or if you've got a retail workshop, you're selling the time out to the retail, you know, punter. Same as body shop, it's all time. The only cost we have with our staff really mainly is probably middle management, so your accountant, you know, the managers and things like that. But usually in the motor trade, you know, even the salesman, you know, you sell them out, they're generating all that money for you, so they're not as a cost as such. But that's my take on it, which is very similar to what you've just said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing I've partially rolled out on site now is rewarding, bonuses. I mean, you've probably got bonus systems, Scott. You're certainly going to be more sophisticated in that department. But let's say like a valeter, for example. Do you have your valeters on bonus systems?
Well, it's funny when you're talking about your mechanic not turning up. Our valeters years ago, from the West End in Newcastle, and they're great. And I've still got 2 or 3 of them. They've been with me like 8, 9 years. They call me boss man. And if they're starting at 8 o'clock, they'd roll in at 20 past 8 and go, "Are we boss man?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, all right." Then I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, what's happening?" And it went on for ages. And they're either on the sick or late. So we'll put a bonus system in, and it's like an attendance bonus, really. And what we said was, instead of giving you a pay rise, which you're now due, we're going to put a bonus system in. So you're going to get £1 an hour rise on your money, but it's going to be a bonus. So that you only get that if you're late and you're not in the sick. And all of a sudden, like that, fixed it. No more lateness, no more sickness. They all came in. And then the next time they were due a rise, 6 months or a year later or whatever, we just put another £1 an hour on the bonus. So then it was going to cost them £80 a week. And that sorted the valeting out. And we've got like 6 or 7 valeters now, and they're not really late anymore. They don't do it. So we don't actually have that as a bonus for the valeters. But we did have the valeters on bonus. And we put a system in, I think it was last year, where it's difficult with your valeters because you've got to time up how long does it take to clean a car, and not 2 cars are the same. But you get, you'd think you're going to get 2 cars done in a day. So you work out how many valeters you've got, 8 hours a day times 6. Times, if they're doing service washes or if they're doing this and the other, and we've got a big board and they write all the times in and all the on the cars and what they're doing. Don't do it digitally. I mean, they could log on like the mechanics do, but we don't do it like that. It's more like just a quick reference to monitor what they're doing, and we'll put a bonus system in and give them something to go for. And it was like an excellent. We'll give them a bonus and one on top. So if they hit the bonus, because what happens is they can hit the bonus by, say, Thursday, and they'll slow down. They say, "We've hit our bonus, there's no point in graphing our arse off anymore."
Yeah.
But so we've got another bonus in now, which encourages them to go a bit further.
So I want to do per car, but when I say per car, I mean per sale, because in the politest way, I don't really care how many cars we PDI or valet today. I really want to know how many we've sold, and I'm going to put them on a per car, per sale bonus, so that. Because, like, again, we're a car sales business. That's kind of why we exist, isn't it? And where I said about like my thinking, for example, we've got a lot of cars getting collected today and tomorrow. So the valeters are actually, flat out. But we've just took in a Fiesta just before this podcast here, and I'm thinking that it's not going to get touched till Monday, that car now. But my thinking is like that could easily just be washed down and that'd be online today, and we might get someone on, or it might start someone's journey 2 days earlier. That's my way of thinking. And I'm thinking if I incentivize them per sale, I can then explain, look, this is what I think, and this is why I think it. And ultimately, it's only to sell more cars. That's all I want to do is sell more cars.
On that, I would say, obviously, you must run a diary system for your handovers, I would have thought.
Yes.
But for that, have you looked at the data in terms of, because in any sales car sales operation I've ever been involved in, you always find Fridays and Saturdays, they're just rammed for handovers. So what I'm thinking is, obviously, if you're going to incentivize them on that side of it, do you incentivize the salespeople to then push the handovers into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays? So you're only limiting the amount to then enable them to be able to do that.
So they're very good with that, the sales execs anyway. They would manage their diary quite well. It's just the first of the month is approaching. The guy with most sales, Zach, he's actually meant to be off tomorrow, and he's decided he's going to work it because he's got so many there. He'll take Monday off. Therefore, today and tomorrow are his last days of the month. So he's like, if it's okay, it's not too much stress. And it's not, to be honest, it's not too much stress. I just made sure, rounded the troops up this morning and explained to them, this is the priorities for the next 2 days. This is, a quarter of our monthly sales is going out over these next 2 days. It's a very big, important few days where, let's not focus so much on other areas, and let's make sure this happens smoothly and at the standard that we want it to happen. That makes sense.
Going back to your finance, what you were talking about earlier, Jay. Which finance companies are you using, and where are you? What products are you trying to push out? Are you promoting PCP deals? Is it mostly HP?
It's predominantly PCP, but we're finding that's just what the customer wants. We use Northridge, we use Alfira. They take the bulk of our business. really good relationships with them as well, to be honest.
And are you direct with both as well? Yeah.
Yeah, being direct with Alfira, that was a battle in itself, but
I bet. Yeah.
Oh, it's mental.
We were direct, and there was some paperwork came through during lockdown, and there was something to do with renewing or something, but we missed the email, and because we missed it after when we reopened, we says, "Oh, but it says, oh, you're not direct anymore. You didn't agree to the terms and conditions, so they stopped it. It was weird."
Never.
We are the bulk of our business is clean finance business. It's all really good business. We've got a good relationship with them. They have their. I can't remember how often Alfira do their audits now, but I don't know if it's every year or every 2 years. But they're constantly complaining that us beating the drum about having cheap cars and whatever else. They absolutely cannot stand that terminology and don't like it. But
Really?
yeah, they're always on at us to change bits on the website, change how we're promoting the stuff on socials, and they really don't want to be associated with anything that costs less. They want.
I've been to Alfira underwriting. I've actually physically been in the office with the underwriters and what have you, because my background's Mini and BMW and so forth. So they actually told us about the underwriting criteria and when proposals come through, and if it's a 80, 100 grand M3 or whatever, they'll even Google the customer's house.
Nice.
And look it on street maps and stuff like that and go, does this look like a house that warrants this kind of car and things like that? That's the depth that they go into. It's frightening.
Yeah, it's interesting though, isn't it? I know it.
Oh, yeah.
I know a very successful business coach who's, all about details and looks like action man and whatever else but you look at his driveway and he's got a lot of weeds on his driveway, and I'm like, everyone's got their own preferences in own areas of the life, haven't they? We're strict. We all make choices.
Yeah.
Well, Scott's just put in the bracket though of just Monty Burns though, aren't you, Scott? Like everything you would think about Scott. He's got like a moat around his house, and he's got like a 3-mile driveway. Drawbridge comes down, and if you try and look over the fence like a sniper's on the roof trying to get you. That's right, Scott.
Because you haven't watched the podcast, he says this on everyone. He's always having a little. If money's mentioned it, Scott's got it and all this. So I did say last week, I broke the secret that he's got a Lamborghini Huracan in his garage at home, and he wasn't very happy with me that I let that secret out.
No, I haven't.
He's still denying it. You want to see him on a Sunday.
Estate.
Yeah, he drives through his housing estate on a Sunday, and he's looking at the roof down. He gets the wind in his hair. And
I'll tell you what. I'll counter that. Right, the other day we're talking about on text about booking a flight up. We've got a business meeting in Cardiff.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, and we agreed, right, we'll do this flight, but right, okay. And he went, yeah, just get I think it was either you or Lee Martin. Get more than a litre sort. And I went, I texted back saying, sort what? And he went, well, book the flights. And I went, are you that Mr. Important that you can't book a flight by yourself online? He's like, I just get one of my staff to do it. Like, I'll book the flights, man.
He's getting a pedicure as we're talking.
Hey, I'll let you know a secret. I booked 2 train tickets today. We're going to that Motor Novo thing. So, not Motor Novo, Motorway.
I'll make
2 train tickets today.
I'm at that too.
Are you going down?
Yeah. I've got a question for you guys then that I wanted to ask each of you. The same question.
Mm-hmm.
It's about decompressing, downtime. When we have our stressful days and it gets the better of us. How do you like to decompress? What's your go-to?
Do you want to go first, Stephen?
Well, I'm a big football fan.
Okay.
So obviously I'm a season ticket holder at Newcastle United. I know I've got a Frank Lampard and Beckham shirt on the back of the wall there, but I promise you there's Newcastle ones like the other side. Yeah. So I'm like big into me football. So whether it's watching football, it used to be playing. I don't play it anymore now. I'm too big and too fat now to do it. But I just anything to do with football, mate. Like I watching Newcastle, watching football on the telly. I've got three sons, 3 lads, and one of them's too young to play. But me 2 eldest lads both play for a local team. I used to coach one of the teams, and my time sort of spent anything to do with football related, and that sort of just takes away any sort of business thoughts that I've got, because normally I probably like yourself, and I know like Scott, I don't switch off. I can't switch off, like I'm constantly on my phone. I'm constantly thinking of the next idea. I'm constantly checking systems that we've got and seeing things have been done. I just never switch off. Anytime I walk into wherever it may be, either in a shop somewhere, I'm looking at the shop and I'm thinking, how much does this cost to rent? And how much are the staff on? And I wonder how are these making this pay? Just like my mind is just constantly working things out.
You know what you're saying that? I've recently joined last year some networking groups, but some really engaging network groups. A lot of them are businesses, of different sizes and whatever else. And then like thoughts that you're having there, the conversation is so good because you can actually speak to the person that owns that business and learn about what you do. And to be honest, they've got the same problems we've all got. It's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, but getting back to that, like just anything to do with football, just sort of like it's the only thing I can sort of concentrate on fully, that I'm really engrossed in that. Like I don't think about work, and actually I've just getting recently into darts,
Nice.
and I've been starting to play a lot of darts with my son. I've definitely got the frame for it. Yeah, I've got the frame for it. So I'm starting to get into that, and that's taken my mind off a little bit as well.
Eric Bristow. That's your new name, George. Eric Bristow.
Jay doesn't know why I call him this George, by the way. Just in Newcastle, it's a thing. Car dealers call each other George.
Okay.
Long story. But obviously Newcastle and Liverpool, where you're from, were two cities very similar as well, aren't they? The people are very, very similar. I've always really liked Scousers and took a shine to them, and which is why when I come across you in all your marketing sort of like localized, and it's very sort of like, speaking in your accent properly, not putting any voices on, and
it's unique. It's really unique.
Yeah.
Cool. Very, very well. It's I think there's reasons why a lot of the main dealer groups haven't touched Liverpool, because it just simply wouldn't work. Liverpool is its own economy.
No, it is. I mean, and this maybe a bit of a negative connotation to do with the Liverpool, but some of that sort of resonates with that in football. There's a thing in Liverpool as well where a lot of Scousers are like, "Oh, you're playing for England? No, that doesn't matter. We're not English," and they'll. I don't understand that. I don't want to get into it, because I don't want to upset people. But that's just, you're very, very. I mean, Geordies are tribal, bloody hell. But you are the same way as well, aren't you?
Yeah. It's
we're very similar like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How do you decompress, Scott?
Me. My love of football. I mean, since the one, I cry every day. When I wake up every morning, I burst into tears, and I'm like, "Oh, the one!" Just the joy just lights up my day. No, I'm just joking. I like to wind Stephen up about me football passion. No, because I used to be a chef and I did hotel management. I think I quite understand that industry, and I like food and I like drink, and I think for my wind down is probably booking as many holidays as I can, booking like weekends away, and just going and relax, going into like a nice hotel and get a spa treatment and a nice back rub and sitting on a nice bottle of wine, nice food.
You would never have thought that looking at your Facebook, like, Scott. You would never have thought that you were into fine dining.
I tell you something, sometimes on Facebook you think, what are you going to post to be social? So I'll put a bit of food on, and then I've been getting told off because a couple of lads will say, well, you stop putting that food on there because my wife says, you're a CUNT, you never take me anywhere. Jane Sibley's out with Scott and he takes her all over the place, and all you care about football. So I get a bit of abuse off the lads, so I've had to wind it right down. So I'll do the odd one now, but I don't do as many. I think it would crash if I put it everywhere I was going in all these places. I booked 3 holidays this week, but I'll get them on the book. That'll wind up the lads.
I tell you, you know what it is you should do is send one of the lads to get a Greg's and just put a picture in. I've just got me Greg's.
Yeah.
Scott, Saturday night you're going home and you're getting a takeaway. Well, if you're into your culinary experiences, maybe you're not getting a takeaway. If you were getting a takeaway, what are you getting?
Well, the problem is in Newcastle, which is difficult.
There's no one serves caviar.
Yeah, it's a struggle in Newcastle. There's no I'm not going to offend any Chinese restaurants, but there's no particularly good Chinese restaurants where you normally have a Chinese takeaway.
Scott, you don't know what you're talking about, mate.
No, there's not.
You've obviously never been to Leamington Road Ends, have you? Dragon City. You've never been to Dragon City, Leamington Road Ends, because you're talking out your arse. The best Chinese in the world.
I've seen you
There's no
try
way to
these.
delivers up his drive is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, takeaway. I don't know. Probably we don't get many, to be fair. Maybe it's an Indian takeaway. But yeah, I'd prefer to go out. I think. Yeah, I just like going out, and I like going places I haven't been to before, and I'll research them. I suppose it's a bit of a not necessarily a hobby. That's going to sound a bit sad, but if you went to a different city where you haven't been, I'd research the bars, the restaurants. I wouldn't just go and like wing it. I'd make sure everything was booked and organised.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything worse than just going to a city and walking in a restaurant because it looks good. I was like, you can't do that. If you,
Yeah.
Nah,
you look
you got
at the
to do
reviews,
homework.
I can't go in that place. That's not possible.
Yeah. And that's part of
No, it is.
part of the enjoyment, I suppose, because you read up on them and you see who's there and who's cooking, and read the reviews and try and find the nice hotels, and yeah, it's just I just think it's quite nice, that kind of thing. But I mean, football. I mean, I was joking to say before, I've been to loads of football matches, but I don't have the same passion like the lads do, and I don't follow it. I don't know why I don't, but if I was a fan, I'd be Newcastle, obviously, my hometown, and I am like a proud Geordie, I suppose. So I'm not against football. It just doesn't really interest us,
But did you guys see that I managed to buy a G-Wagon last year off Saka?
Oh, did you?
No.
Yeah.
Right.
To be honest, I bought it on motorway. I just fancied the car, and then when it's come through, it's like, I recognise that name. I definitely know that.
No way. Scott won't have a clue you're talking about, mind.
Yeah,
I know who Saka is, man.
I thought it was a dish.
Saka.
Who is he? Who's he playing for?
There's only one Saka. Can I ask you a question, Jay, about the football?
yes.
Which team are you? Because you said blue before. Does that mean?
I'm an Everton fan.
Oh, it's at Everton.
Yes.
Everton. Well, with Newcastle, obviously, they've been taken over. They've got the new owners, and they had Mike Ashley, who was in there, run the club, and it was a disaster. And there was loads of people not renewing their season tickets.
Yeah.
And the club was terrible. It wasn't good. But the Geordies sing a song about them being the loyalest football supporters the world's ever had. Do you think that's factual, or would you say that your team is more loyal than the
Stirring the
Geordies?
pot here, and
I
he's
think
stirring the pot.
only stirring the pot.
There's an argument between the Everton fans and the
wait a
Newcastle
minute.
fans. I'll leave that to Twitter. Twitter looks like
Yeah, Twitter, I'll gobble that up.
and whatever else. I'm not. I read and don't go any further into it. Like, I know there's bad
Yeah.
in terms of the fans on Twitter. I've seen plenty of that.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
There's definitely some of that.
Yeah.
What
I
do you
like
do,
wine-
like, Martin, for your winding down?
I don't. No,
Oh, you don't.
literally, I was gonna say, on a night time on a weekend, I don't switch off. If for me to switch off, I've got to go out of the house. I've got to have my phone off in my pocket. If I can see my phone or whatever, because there's that much coming through on it, you're always constantly looking at it. You're always constantly looking to see what's happening somewhere else or whatever. So we're quite lucky in terms of where we're located, because we're right next to the coast. We're only a few miles away from the coast. So literally park the car, have a wander up, get a coffee somewhere, wander back down. It's funny, I always joke with the other half is, if I could live anywhere, it would be in the middle of a forest, which has got nobody around it, and just plonkers there, I'll be happy. Because, you know what I mean, just the distraction, because wherever you look, there's distraction. I don't think you can fully get away with it unless you fully switch off from it.
Yeah, with tasks to do in terms of, as you said,
Yeah.
somewhere else, and we're probably all similar in that regard. If I'm at home, I can't help it. There's something I need to
Just
do,
goes
or should
bang.
be doing, and nowadays,
Yeah.
I said I'll just bid on cars of a night just because I can. It's like it doesn't feel like work. It's just what I want to. I'd rather do that than watch Netflix all night.
Yeah.
Just why?
Well, that's why motorway brought the times forward, didn't they? They
Yeah.
realised that a lot of people were bidding on a night time. So, because originally you couldn't go on until 10 o'clock in the morning, if I remember a few years back now. Then they brought it forward to the night before.
Yeah.
So then you could actually, so people could sit there on a night time and bid on the vehicles. They weren't daft. They looked at the way that everyone was working and just adjusted their business plan to that.
Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it?
What do you do then, James? What winds you down?
Just a balance of like what the three of you have said, really. My little lad plays football. He's only 6, but he's good at football. I'm involved in the club. That's nice of a weekend because you kind of do detach. My phone is away in my pockets, and I'm generally watching what goes on. Like you, Scott, I like to go out for meals and be out there and as much as I can. I like to socialise. I like to network. If anything, there's kind of been a bit too much networking where, there's too many events that keep popping up and I'm like, I can't do all these events, but I like them. And for the reason, like you explained, Martin, that it just gets me out the house. Someone says there's such and such a net, like the motorway event, for example, that'll be great. That'll be a great day. It'll get me out. And I would always say yeah to that kind of event. And I've recently been doing more hiking, mountains and whatever else. I've signed myself up to go to Everest Base Camp in November. So I kind of across the summer, as the weather's changing, I'll be getting out more and more hikes, more mountains, more time in nature. Generally places where your phone doesn't work and it's still exercise, and just to get balance. But that balance is kind of like the work life up here, and then the downtime on the mountains here. It kind of just meets in the middle with some nice balance.
Are you married, Jay?
I am actually going through a divorce.
Oh, are you really? All right. I was gonna ask you.
You weren't expecting that, were you? That's
No, I wasn't. No, you threw us there.
Just killed the job.
You did. You threw the next question. Oh well, actually, I'll amend the question then.
Go on.
Did your busy lifestyle and mindset of being a business owner and having all these things going on all the time and thinking about it constantly, did that lead to what you've just said? Did it have a negative effect on your relationship? Because it does mine.
There's lots of different angles with that where, a business owner, I'm a busy guy, therefore I appreciate busy people. we look at details and data and whatever else. I appreciate people also considering data and details. I was always gonna, and I think we're probably all the same, our minds will outrun whoever sat next to us. That was well appreciated for many, many years. And I think just now it was more lifestyle changes and COVID years over. I was with my, well, to be honest, we're still married. I don't know what you're meant to call them when you're still married, but you're not together. We were together for 20 years. It was a very long time.
Right.
I'm only 37, so it was all of my life. Just grew at different paces, really. And, I think them COVID years, as much as, there's a lot of pain and heartbreak for a lot of people, they were very, very good to me in work, very, very good to me in my life, very good to me financially. They kind of made me more of a confident person and, amplified my growth at a faster rate than normal. And so whether one led to the other, I don't really know. I do think the lifestyle that most of us live, it's got many pros, but it also does come with some cons where the brain quite clearly doesn't switch off. And again, I'm okay with that though. Where we said, like you said there, Scott, you like to go and get your massages and whatever else. I'm like, I like being sat here today and work. This is a really good day where we're busy and the team's good. I like being plugged in and sat here. I'll need balance and a nice meal out and whatever else. And I need them kind of things, but I enjoy it. It's probably a downside. That's me then not delegating enough and not handing enough over to the team. I like being a team member just as much as I like being the director of the company.
It's all about the challenge, isn't it? I think the challenge, and then where you've grown your business, sometimes the success comes before thinking about the money. The money will come when you're successful and when you grow the business. So that there's different elements to it all.
Yeah, it took years and years and years where, for the level of I had some okay business knowledge because I was always selling stuff in my teen years. I was selling signed football shirts and those, I generally just know how to make money in them years. I remember one of the first months that we started this place and we had a valeter at this point and the car wouldn't start. He said the battery is flat. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. I was totally oblivious. I was like, I hear what you're saying, but what do we need to do? Is it broke? Is it what? I knew nothing about cars, absolutely nothing.
Wow.
I still don't. I've not. Open a bonnet.
Snap.
And I always say to a customer, I can have a look under the bonnet. Yeah, no problem. That one there's the water, and that one there's the oil, and that one there's the coolant. Because only touch the ones that have got the colours on the top. Yeah. Don't know what anything else does. But I've always said the same.
Someone asked me about changing a bulb in their 1 Series yesterday, and I was like, I've never changed a bulb in my life.
I've never changed a bulb in my life.
Nah.
I've got a team of 3 people there that if you want to drive past, they'll change the bulb for you, no problem. But I it's not my skill set.
My lad's
Yeah.
service advisors, and also like Ben, he oversees all the workshops. His knowledge is like incredible, which he's just learned over the years. And I'll say to him, somebody might ring up and say there's a fault with the car. He just knows the answer. It'll be that.
Yeah.
And he'll probably know more now than a lot of techs who are qualified, or junior techs, if you like, who are coming up, because they don't have the answer. So he'll tell them, no, it's not that. You need to try that. So don't plug that. The computer says that, but forget about that and do that. And it's knowledge, isn't it, when you get it?
I think like them techs nowadays, there's a modern tech, isn't there? And I think we had an Audi e-tron that had some sort of problem with their entertainment system. It wasn't working, or it was intermittently not working. Send that into Audi, they're like, yes, we need a head unit, $7,000. That's the path. And then before you know it, we've posted it in a Facebook group for Audi owners. And there's a guy in India that remote accesses the car and fixes it for a couple of £100. It's like, that is modern tech. That's what.
Yeah. But he's making a fortune.
But I think it's just,
I'm okay with that.
It's franchise dealers.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's what's needed nowadays. I think just outside the box. It's not necessarily all about how fast can they turn spanners and whatever else. It's you've got to use the brain and the technology a lot more.
Yeah. But to be fair, a lot of the franchise technicians that are getting developed now, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're spending thousands on them. I mean, tens of thousands training them. But it is just replace. Does that work? Right? No, that hasn't fixed it. Right? Replace that. Has that fixed it? They don't engage to use that experience to go, well, actually, wait a minute, this is the problem, and let's have a try this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just it's instantly just replace, because probably they're too busy. The franchise workshops are probably too busy for that.
Yeah, it's less responsibility as well, isn't it? If they don't have to just change it.
And sometimes they go off what the computer tells them. So the computer says that's X, rather than think, well, actually, we did one last week and it wasn't that, it was that. They'll just go, oh, the computer says that, right, we'll have that part, without thinking, like you're saying. So
possibly also a warranty.
Yeah, possibly.
They've got to go down the full process to make it to have a valid claim under the warranty.
Yeah.
So they've got to do these things, and then it just becomes the way they do things.
I feel like 1 hour 12 into this year, and we've not once even touched on AI, and I feel like it couldn't possibly go there because it's like another hour 12. But the use of AI is certainly something I've been dabbling with a lot.
Yeah, we've done little bits with it. I mean, I'm constantly on ChatGPT for various things. Like, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And like it's just literally in its infancy now. Like it's just gonna get so much better. It's untrue, and it'll change. I mean, in 10 years' time, what it'll look like then, just unfathomable. It'll change the way not just the car industry works, but every industry out there. And I think in its current guise, it's very limited at the moment. But I don't think it'll be long before like you're having full-blown conversations with someone on a telephone and don't even know that it's not a human. Which is scary, really scary.
It's good though. I think if you can, I think it's certainly the next thing to get ahead of. Be ahead of the curve with the use of AI, and I think it will serve everybody well, especially with data analysis. If you pay for the premium ChatGPT and you can upload spreadsheets and ask it to study the data for you and spot the patterns.
Yeah,
it's
good, isn't it?
I mean, what I was going to say, unless you don't want to say, what is it you use AI for at the moment?
Everything from, as I say, uploading spreadsheets. I'll upload spreadsheets about what we've bought, what we've sold, after sales data. I'll ask, we've got an issue with a staff member. Ask it to follow ACAS's guidelines and how we should handle this matter, and it will even write the letters for you, won't it? It'll do all them, or certainly at least give you a better guide than you get if you rung one of your friends. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So, do you not use Facebook?
I'm not one of them like Facebook people. It's tiring to read some of the comments sometimes. I'm more optimistic and positive than that.
So what's the future holding, Jay? What are you got any plans?
No, just keep the place firing on all cylinders. Once it's redeveloped, get it up to that standard. Probably have some sort of launch party. Keep the word good. Look after the staff. Look after the customers. Long-term goals probably of if we earn reasonable enough to put that into property and just grow. Got a small property portfolio. Grow that. That'll be the long-term plans of the business, I would say. But I quite like being here, and I'm now more content with. If someone told me I'd still be turning up here in 20 years, I'd be okay with that. I think it's a nice place.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good to say that.
The launch party sounds interesting because we like
I was just
a
about
night
to
out
say if
in
there was
Liverpool.
champagne.
Yeah, we do like a late night in
champagne on.
Liverpool. It's good.
Well, I feel like just for asking that deserves an invite anyway, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
definitely come down.
There's one thing that I always do exactly what I say. I like to think that my word is as good as a contract, and I'll make sure you're getting invited to the launch party.
Smashing.
Great.
Yeah, good. We'll come
We'll
down.
be there. We'll be
Yeah,
there.
100%. Jay, we do this with everyone on the podcast. If you had one piece of advice that you could give to like a 17-year-old Jay McConville, someone starting out again in the DealerPod or the Dealer Way community, what would that be?
I would say surround yourself with better people. Constantly look to find yourself with people who are successful in lots of areas of the life. I didn't get serious growth and confidence till I surrounded myself with better people.
Good advice.
Yeah, good advice. You never like advanced very far, Scott, until you start knocking around with me, did you?
I think the day we met, that was just that was like a stepping stone.
Must have been, yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. My dad, was funny. He's an ex-car dealer, and he had three groups of friends. He had car dealer friends, and he had like solicitors and lawyers and surgeons who would come to the house and come for dinner and things like that. And then he'd have all the criminals as well. And it was weird how he used to like separate them into three. Very strange.
I think we'll leave it at that.
True story.
Jay, I really appreciate your time and coming on. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Thank you.
And we'll definitely come to your launch party if you let me know.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Not a problem.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Been a great guest. Cheers, everyone. We'll see you next time. Cheers. Thank you.
Right.
Cheers.